This is Matt Callahan, Vice President and General Manager for the Tri-City ValleyCats, and you are listening to Troy Story, a podcast for the Caller City.
Hello, and welcome back to the latest chapter of Troy Story, a podcast for the Caller City, where we explore the history of Troy, New York, one conversation at a time. I'm your host, John Salka. Today we're talking baseball. Minor league baseball, that is, specifically the Tri-City ValleyCats, our area's baseball club that's called the Capital Region home for 22 seasons and counting. While I spent a good portion of my youth watching and following baseball, specifically the Yankees, I'm certainly no authority on the game. So I picked up the phone, maybe it was just an email, and reached out to my friend Matt Callahan, Vice President and General Manager of the Tri-City ValleyCats, for a deep dive on professional baseball in the Capital Region. Matt is in the midst of his 17th season with the Cats, whose home opener is later this week. He found some time in his increasingly busy schedule to talk all things Gatos with us, including the start of the team's 22nd season in the Capital Region, what's involved in overseeing day-to-day operations of a minor league ball club, and how his journey to Troy included a stop through Nashville. We also explore the organization's embrace of live music and entertainment events at the stadium over the years. I can't think of a better guest for this episode, and yes, there are plenty of baseball puns told along the way. As has become routine for the show, we're releasing this chapter in two parts. However, with the ValleyCats home opener just days away, we've decided to release the full interview this week, part 1 today and part 2 on Wednesday, for our listeners, along with the ValleyCats faithful, to enjoy in its entirety. As always, please head over to TroyStoryPod.com for the latest updates on upcoming chapters of the pod. You can also sign up for weekly email updates to get notified when new episodes are available. Also, if you could share this episode with your friends, family, neighbors, or even that baseball fan in your life, that would be very appreciated. Word of mouth is a very important way our show reaches new listeners. We're also on social media, so pick up your phone and head over to Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube right now. Find us using @TroyStoryPod. Lastly, if you have an idea, suggestion for guests, or some feedback on the show, positive, negative, or otherwise, drop us a line at mail@TroyStoryPod.com. Okay, enough from me. Let's jump into our interview with Matt Callahan, Vice President and General Manager of the Tri-City ValleyCats. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Chapter 5 of Troy Story, a podcast for the Caller City. I am very fortunate today to be joined by Matt Callahan, Vice President and General Manager for the Tri-City ValleyCats. Matt has been with the team for 17 years. Is that?
I believe so. I always get fuzzy on the math. I do it by seasons. I think this is my 17th season. I started in January of '08, so it's been a long time either way.
So, Matt, maybe let's just jump right in. Introduce yourself, and just tell everybody who you are and what you do.
So my name is Matt Callahan, as you mentioned, Vice President and General Manager for the Tri-City ValleyCats. Originally from the Boston area, I grew up in the South Shore, about 20 miles south of Boston, and moved to the Capital Region in 2008 for my first job in baseball, which was with the ValleyCats. I figured I would be here for a year or two, and then moving somewhere else across the country. But here I am, as we said, a long time later. So it's been it's been a great run. Definitely home for myself and my family now, and we're fortunate to be here.
So, how long have you managed the team? If you've been been with the team for 17 seasons, I'm assuming when you started, you weren't vice president and manager of the team.
I certainly was not. No, I started as an account executive, so doing a lot of ticket sales, group tickets, sponsorships, things like that. And then I moved on to become the business development manager, so overseeing a lot of our sales staff. Then I was our assistant general manager for probably 4 or 5 seasons before I was promoted to general manager. So I've been general manager for maybe going on 8 seasons at this point. Vice president for the past, I think, 3 seasons since we joined the Frontier League in 2021.
For those unfamiliar with baseball, and I'm assuming a lot of people that are going to tune in are familiar with the team or familiar with you or familiar with the sport broadly. But for those that aren't, can you just explain generally what the job of a general manager for a baseball team is? Minor league, major league, otherwise. There's obviously gradations of difference, but generally, what is the job involved?
Yeah, absolutely. So the general manager position that most people are familiar with is probably at the major league level, and that is really solely focused on player development, player transactions, building the roster, building the team, signing contracts, promoting players from the minor leagues, things like that. They're responsible for the on-field performance only. At the minor league level, and in our league in particular, being part of a MLB partner league, essentially an independent league, it's a little bit different. So the primary focus for really the majority of my career has been the ballpark operations, the fan experience, ticket sales, promotions, entertainment, food and beverage, stadium operations. When we were affiliated with the Houston Astros, I coordinated and handled a lot of the logistics on the baseball side. So players coming and going, transportation, hotels, housing, things like that, to facilitate the player development side with Houston. In our new model, we are responsible for all the players and the on-field performance at this point as well. So that was added to my plate in 2021. So our field staff, so our field manager and coaching staff, really take a lead on signing players and things like that. But I play a role in that also. So in addition to all of the logistical side, now we're handling contracts and trades. We're handling the medical side of things, physicals, team doctor, athletic trainer. We're responsible now for hiring. I'm responsible really for hiring the field manager and when we make changes to the coaching staff. So, it's kind of come full circle. When I first got into the business, I wanted to get into the baseball operations, the player development side, and now I get to do both.
So the team, and I want to come back to that, but I want to just jump back to the team itself. So the team has been playing ball in Troy since 2002.
Yes. So the roots of this franchise go back to Pittsfield, Massachusetts. They were the Pittsfield Mets for a long time. Our team president, Rick Murphy, was running the team in Pittsfield, and the opportunity to have a new stadium built came up here, of course, with Joe Bruno, Senator Bruno, and the team decided to move from Pittsfield to the capital region, to the Joe here on Hudson Valley's campus, and we've been here since 2002.
For those who haven't been to the stadium and haven't seen a Valley Cats game, and I find that hard to believe because I think most people over the last 22 years at some point have been to the stadium. No, it's a really nice professional minor league ball field, and has more than just it's more than centered around exclusively just the game. It's kind of like just as much an experience as it is sort of for an attendee to come and watch a ball game. You're also kind of going for the atmosphere and the fun and the things that are kind of all folded into the Valley Cats experience. I think. Can you talk a little bit about what that kind of looks like?
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for that introduction, because I think you hit the nail on the head for what we try to do. Baseball, to me, I'm passionate about baseball, but it's the vehicle to deliver that experience, and we want people to come in, and whether they're glued to every play on the field or they're just more of a casual fan out for a summer night, we want them to have an enjoyable experience, to enjoy the entertainment side of it, the different promotions and skits that are happening on the field in between innings, the contests, the mascots roaming around, the music, the fireworks, the giveaways, and all those things. For us, we try to create a very accessible, community oriented environment where you can come out for a night and enjoy yourself and not have to put a huge dent in your piggy bank either. Affordability is key, and that's something that we strive for day in and day out.
This month, this upcoming week, we're recording this. Today is May 11th. The home opener is May 17th. That's correct.
That's correct. May 17th is our home opener. We actually opened on the road in Chicago last night. We had a 11-7 win, so we are undefeated as of this recording.
Nice. What should fans, potential attendees, ticket holders know about the team and changes for this season, the 2024 season?
So we have a brand new coaching staff. Last year, or really for the past 3 years since we've been in the Frontier League, Pete Incaviglia, a former major leaguer, was our manager. His contract expired, and we sort of mutually decided to go in a different direction. So we hired a gentleman by the name of Greg Taggart, who has a tremendous amount of experience and success coaching in the Frontier League as well as the American Association. Had some time with the San Francisco Giants organization as well. So we're excited to have him on board, and he's going to bring a little different brand of baseball than what we've had the past few years. So we're going to see a lot of action on the base paths, a lot of stolen bases or attempted stolen bases. We're a little bit younger this year, I think a little bit more athletic, but the team, we had a very competitive spring training. They're going to play hard. They're going to play the right way, and I think that's going to bring a very exciting brand of baseball to the stadium this year.
When I came by this stadium, it was last week. I think we kind of did just like a pre-interview, and he took a couple photos, for the PR side of the podcast. But we got a chance to talk, and we kind of just did a little mini walking tour um, of the stadium. We saw, I think you had an exhibition game that day. So there's baseball's with the team has kind of been, it's already underway, really, even before the game that you mentioned earlier, sort of the on the road opening game, the win.
Yeah, so I keep kind of referencing our new model, and 2020 is really sort of a dividing line for us, obviously for everybody with COVID, but we were part of Major League Baseball's contraction at that point in time where they decided to remove short season single A entirely. They cut 42 teams across minor league baseball. So we joined a new league, the Frontier League, and in this new model, this new iteration, we have to host, or we don't have to, but we host our own spring training. So previously, basically, guys would get drafted, they'd get signed by Houston, they would come here, practice for 3 days, and then they'd be off and running, playing a season starting in mid-June. Now we bring 38 some odd players into the stadium, into the capital region, starting in late April. We have about a 2-week camp, kind of mini spring training. And then we actually have to cut the roster down to 24 players. So, there's a lot of coaching, there's a lot of development during that time. There's a lot of guys kind of knocking the rust off, getting back into baseball shape, so to speak. But there's also a lot of decisions to be made and trying to ascertain what you can from those exhibition games to make sure we're putting the best team on the field that we can.
That must be tough. I mean, I think we touched on that very briefly when I was there at the stadium. Just that day, I think you were mentioning like, yeah, tomorrow we're gonna be cutting some guys, and I can imagine that must be really tough for players who are, working their way through the minor league system, hoping to land on a roster somewhere and play, in the hopes of maybe one day making the big leagues. I mean, that's got to be difficult for them, but I imagine also for you as a general manager, and your staff and your team deciding who gets to stay and who gets cut to build the team to be successful. Because ultimately, you're a ball team. You want to be successful, but you're also a business too. So you're putting together a product, but you're trying to win games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we want to win. We want to make the playoffs and compete every year. It is. I mean, that's the hardest, one of the worst parts of the job, right? Is having to sit across the table from somebody and tell them that they didn't make the team, and they're going to have to go find another opportunity elsewhere. Our manager does the boatload or the majority of that, but I'm certainly involved, and you're having those conversations, and you're trying to be as straightforward as you can, and communicate effectively without being unnecessarily direct, I guess. But it's hard. It's tough to tell somebody that, hey, your dream's going to be interrupted here, right? Not saying it's over, but it's not going to continue here, and you're going to have to go find another opportunity or another path. I will say, on the flip side, in the Frontier League, any major league team can sign our players. They can buy out a contract, and I have had the privilege of sharing that news with players at times too. That hey, the New York Mets just called us, and they're going to sign you, and you're going to report to Brooklyn and start in their system. So it cuts both ways, and you just kind of have to you have to take the positives and the highlights with the challenges along the way.
Like what you hear? Well, then it might be time to give us a flattering review. Reviews are the best way to make the magical podcast algorithm suggest our modest little podcast to other listeners. If you're feeling extra generous, please share this episode with a friend, family member, or that special person in your life. They'll thank you for it, and we will be forever in your debt. Troy Story, a podcast for the Collar City, streaming everywhere you get your podcasts. To come back to the ValleyCats experience when people come to a game, I guess maybe a 10,000-foot view, can you talk a little bit about the number of people involved in running a minor league ball team? Again, not just the back office, but all of the staff, the people that, concessions versus maintenance staff versus people who take care of the field, and everybody in between. I mean, how many people work for the team at any one time during a regular season?
Yeah, so full-time staff, we have about 10 people that are working year round. As we get towards the season, we usually bring on some interns to work in the office and sort of supplement our management staff. So that could be, maybe another 10 to 15 individuals. But once we open up and we have our games starting, from concessions, we have the two main concession stands, and then another 15 kiosks serving different products across the stadium concourse. We have parking, attendance as people are driving into the stadium operations where people are doing maintenance and cleaning and setting up, breaking down, things like that. Um, a whole host of other game day staff, like our production team, who are putting the music on and putting things up on the video board, camera people that are streaming or part of streaming our games out to the internet on Flow Sports. The grounds crew is really a third party contract that we share with Hudson Valley, but I mean, but they're largely an extension of our staff anyways. We work hand in hand, and if you're hearing a rain delay, you're going to see our staff, myself included, out there pulling the tarp and trying to cover the field so we can preserve the game. But overall, on a game day, we could have up to 200 people on a busier night. There's a lot of behind the scenes. There's a lot of frontline staff that go into it: ticket takers, box office people selling the tickets, security. There's just a whole host of people that you wouldn't necessarily think of being a part of the experience, but they're every bit as important to the experience as our full-time staff. Having those folks with a smile on their face serving a hot dog or pouring a beer, that's something that we try to instill in all of our staff. And I think that goes a really long way to the environment and the experience that we've been able to create and hopefully sustain here at the Joe.
The stadium itself, just to touch on concessions, because I think of the times when I go to the games, and the types of offerings that are there, whether it's food, but also the hats and all of the merchandise and everything like that. I always liked the local angle to some of those type of promotions and offerings that that stadium has. Like, for example, you serve Brown's beer at the stadium, which I always thought was really cool that, we've got Brown's, that historic brewery in downtown, but here they are at the ball field in up on Hudson Valley campus is serving the beer too. How does that work from a standpoint of the stadium deciding to say, okay, we're going to offer these types of products, but we also want to offer some sort of like local flair. And I don't know if there's others that you can sort of spotlight too that I may not be aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that's important to us as a management team, is to, whenever possible, to work with local companies, local products. It's not always possible based on economics and opportunities, but when we can, I mean, that's a pun intended, that's a home run for us. Um, we have the luxury to do that in certain instances because we manage and run and control our own concessions. So we don't have a concessionaire. That's all our staff. So we can make those decisions. Rick Murphy, myself, Jess Guido, our assistant GM, Kyle Richards, our food and beverage manager. We can sit down and say, hey, what do you think about this? And try to find a way to make it work. Browns is a phenomenal example of that. They've been a really great partner of ours for a long time. I think they'd come to the ballpark shortly before I started, maybe a year or season or two before I started. But just getting to know Gary and Kelly and their entire family, those are the people that we love to do business with, right? And when you can support each other, two local businesses, I think that's really when things come together and work as well as they can. Some of the other local products. So we have Nine Pin Cider from Albany that we've been serving for a long time. Albany Distilling has some of their ALB on the go products here. I mean, obviously, we work with some of the larger distributors, but we do have a bunch of other New York State products through the Taste New York program. But anytime you can work with a local vendor, that's really our preference.
One of the things that always I remember when I think of the Valley Cats, in addition to obviously baseball, was some of the more non-baseball oriented events that the stadium has hosted over the years. When Troy hosted the New York Penn League Championship, I forget what year that was. It was pre-COVID. We keep coming back to COVID. Had the big concert in downtown Troy as part of the promotion for that, but also the stadium has hosted music bands as well, in addition to wrestling. How did that idea, or those ideas, how do they come up? And then what are the logistics involved with like putting on those type of events in essentially a baseball stadium that's designed for something entirely different than a concert?
Yeah. There's a lot that goes into it. We do a lot of brainstorming as a staff, and I mean, you should see the stuff that doesn't make it out of that room, ends up on the cutting room floor, right? But I think one of the things that we've tried to do during my time here, and particularly over, say the past 10 years, is really to maximize the opportunities within this facility. It's such a great facility, and it's accessible to the entire capital region. So obviously the baseball, that's our primary vehicle, and we have in this model we have 48 home games. But what else can we do? How else can we get people to the ballpark? What are those other uses? So we've done everything from 5Ks to charity walks, where people are walking around the warning track. We've done boxing matches. We did do wrestling for a couple of years.
Was it Mick Foley, right? I can't remember what the league, but it was so cool. It's like Mick Foley wrestled at the Valley Cat Stadium. I thought that was really, awesome, innovative opportunity for people to see some like wrestling legends, wrestle outdoors under the lights, at a baseball stadium.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was unique to say the least. But there were some recognizable names, and the athleticism on those guys and girls too is off the charts. I mean, it was pretty impressive to watch in person, and that was a fun event for our staff to do. It wasn't the most successful event we've done financially, so you have to kind of weigh that. Okay, if we're going to put in all this work and we're going to put down temporary flooring to protect the field, we're going to bring this ring in, we're going to put seats on the field, we're going to block a date, we're going to go to war with our groundskeeper who wanted to kill me that day. but you have to weigh those things. Is the risk and the effort worth the impact? Some events, the answer is yes, or we see a path where it can grow. Others, you try it and it doesn't quite do what you thought it would do, so you move on to the next. But those events are fun for us. It's just cool to be able to do that. And really, our staff, we're an event company as much as anything. We're an entertainment and event company as much as we are a baseball team. So we did the concert that you were talking about downtown. Was Eli Young band. It was actually part of the New York Penn League All-Star game in 2017. And then we were able to host our first major concert at the stadium in 2019. Billy Currington. We had about 3,200 people here, big stage at second base. 1,000 or so people on the field for that. We did announce that we're doing another concert this year. Dustin Lynch, another country act, is coming on August 15th. So that one will even be a little bit bigger. Personally, I'm looking forward to that one. For the Billy Currington show, we planned it and put it on in about 5 weeks. I think it might have taken 5 years off my life, but it was successful. So to have a little more time, we had about 5 months for Dustin Lynch as opposed to 5 weeks. So that's exciting, and I think it brings new people to the park. It brings new energy to the park, and I think once people get here and see what the stadium's all about, it's that much easier to get them back for other events.
So we're doing the podcast. We're doing some look backs on Troy's musical history. And the first one that we're doing, we're looking back at the 1989 Metallica concert at the RPI Field House. And the reason why is because there's a whole video of the whole concert on YouTube. Some very smart individual lugged in a camcorder, and filmed the whole thing. This back again, 1989, which is really cool. And you just got me thinking you should do some heavy metal shows at the stadium. Just putting it out there, heavy metal.
Hey,
we're out there. They're beer drinkers, and they're looking for a good time. And I think there's nothing better than an outdoor concert. I don't know how much the neighbors would like.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Just putting it on the old ValleyCats radar there.
Seed planted.
Here is a preview of a very special chapter of Troy Story, a podcast for the Collar City, currently under development.
You guys having some fun tonight? It's like we got ourselves a few sweaty fuckers here tonight, yeah?
The date was March 15th, 1989. Hordes of heavy metal fans descended on Troy, New York to see the mighty Metallica at the RPI Field House. The band was rampaging across America on their Damaged Justice tour in support of their latest studio album, And Justice for All. And the Collar City stop would become something of a noteworthy show from that era in the band's history. By the time Metallica landed in Troy that year, they had already established themselves as one of the fastest, most aggressive bands on the planet. They were also fresh off a live televised performance at the Grammys just 3 weeks earlier, including that now infamous loss to Jethro Tull.
I was in Title 1 if you didn't know, and that's my favorite Jethro Tull song.
Yes, that Jethro Tull, for Best Hard Rock / Heavy Metal Award. The Troy gig would be Metallica's first and only concert in the Collar City before they exploded into megastardom with the release of their self-titled LP, known as the Black Album, in 1991. The concert showcased the ferocity of not just the band, who tore through tracks off their first 4 albums, Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and the aforementioned And Justice for All, but also the fans who packed the RPI Field House to the rafters, pumping fists in the air, screaming along to every word of every song, and generally losing their fucking minds. You might be asking, how do I know this? Well, because the entire concert is on YouTube, thanks to a dedicated fan who managed to sneak in a video camera to capture the show from start to finish. Take a look at the beginning of For Whom the Bell Tolls, and you'll see the faithful metal masses going absolutely ballistic. The video link is in the episode notes.
Let's put hands up the album, Ride the Lightning. Fucking scream along with us for the title For Whom the Bell Tolls.
So, did you see Metallica at the RPI Field House in 1989? We would love to hear from you for a special episode we're working on. What do you remember about the concert? How far did you travel from? How old were you at the time? Who did you come to the show with? Do you have a special memory from that night? Did you meet the band? Do you have any photos, posters, or ticket stubs from the concert? Help us revisit and celebrate this once-in-a-lifetime show for a special upcoming episode of Troy Story, a podcast for the Collar City. Call 518-285-0831 and leave us a voicemail with your story. We just might use it in the show. You can also email us your memories from the gig at mail@troystorypod.com or by visiting troystorypod.com/Metallica. Until next time, love yourself, love one another, and may Pod save Troy. Oh, and stay metal. I just want to kind of go back into your personal history. So, what was your gateway into baseball? Obviously, it sounds like you had an interest enough in baseball. Did you come up playing the sport? Was it just something that you were interested in? Boston area is a big baseball town. Massachusetts in general, most people tend to be Red Sox fans, if you think about it. Is that just something that was always in you from a young age, interest in sports and baseball specifically?
Yeah, sports has always been a huge part of my life. Baseball and hockey, really in particular. So growing up, my parents, my dad, would take me to Red Sox games. I would go with both my grandfathers and my grandparents, and I just remember watching games with my family. Just sitting for hours watching the Red Sox, and then watching the Bruins or Celtics, Patriots, all that, and yes, very very clearly, I'm a Boston sports fan through and through, which probably you're going to get a bunch of people that are going to tune out now, but that's all right. Um, so yeah, I grew up playing, watching, and loving, I guess, obsessing over, all the Boston sports, and baseball in particular. I was always just really fascinated with the team building aspect of it and the trades at the deadline. I remember reading the Boston Globe and reading Peter Gammon's Sunday baseball notes, and to me that was my favorite part of the week, and I was probably 10, 11 years old reading that stuff. So I went to Boston College, graduated in '03, '03 and a half, and uh, basically was just looking for any sort of job. I was a communications major. I wouldn't say that I was the most focused college student, so I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do when I got out. So I ended up taking a sales job for a technology company. Great company, learned a lot, but just wasn't something that I wanted to do. I wasn't passionate about it. And I ended up bumping into a friend of mine who was home for Thanksgiving. We were out one night, I think just having a couple drinks, and he started talking to me about what he was doing. He was working for the Durham Bulls, which was a AAA affiliate for the Tampa Bay Rays. And I kept telling him, "Oh, that's amazing. I'm jealous. I want to get into baseball. I want to get into baseball." And he said, "Well, you should go to the baseball winter meetings. There's a huge job fair there." And I said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, sure, sure." And I saw him the next night. Everybody was home. It was kind of that homecoming time, and we were out again, and same conversation. And he's like, "You should go. Really, you have sales experience, and that's attractive to minor league organizations. They want people that can sell tickets and things like that." And so I said, "Oh, sure, sure." And then I talked to my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, talked to a few other close friends, and everybody kind of looked at me and was like, "Well, either do it or shut up about it." And I said, "Okay." And I said, "Well, I guess I'll do it." So literally a week later, I was on a plane to Nashville for the baseball winter meetings. It was at the Opryland. Um, it was it was a phenomenal experience, but it was a crazy couple days. I went there, didn't really know anybody, but there was a big job fair. I put my resume in for, everything from grounds crew positions to promotional internships to full-time sales jobs. And I had about 30 some odd interviews in 3 days. Some crazy experiences in between. I was having dinner someplace across from the hotel, and all of a sudden Tommy Lasorda walks in, and 10 minutes later he's up on stage singing karaoke. You just going to the baseball winter meetings, you just bump into so many people that you've seen on TV, you've seen on the field that are legends. It was such an amazing experience. But long and short of it was, I had a couple offers, I had an opportunity from Tri-City, from the ValleyCats. They made an offer to me. So my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, and we drove out in December and checked out the stadium on a cold, dark December night, and then went out in Troy with Rick Murphy and actually Vic Christopher at the time. Um, Funny you mentioned it before, but the first place we went was Browns. So my first meal in Troy was Browns, and they must have done their homework because I've been a huge Browns fan ever since. Um,
Printed
had
on
a great What's that?
printed on you forever.
Yeah, exactly. But we enjoyed the experience. I think we went to Ryan's Wake after that, and then visited probably another establishment or two. Um, and decided that I was going to make the move. So came out here and started. Didn't know a lot about the business side of baseball, but just tried to dive in and give it everything I could. And I've been really fortunate to have opportunities within the organization to move up and to stay here.
You touched on a little earlier just about youth, being a young person, sort of baseball being part of your childhood. And I totally identify with it. And I think a lot of people do. I grew up in the Lower Hudson Valley, and I remember going to um, Renegades games in Dutchess County, which was just about I don't know, like 40 minutes from where I grew up. That was the nearest minor league team, and I only have really fond memories of going to baseball games, whether it was minor league or going down to the city. And I'm sort of I'm a lapsed Yankees fan. I have to say, I don't necessarily watch the Yankees too much anymore, but I did a lot when I was a kid, and we used to listen to it on the radio with my dad, when games are on at summer camp and stuff. So like baseball, I think is just for many people, it's sort of woven into their childhood in a way. It's just always something that they identify with or have fond memories of. And I think that's kind of what the Valley Cats tap into locally. There's a lot of fans who are just sort of, even if you're a hardcore baseball fan or you're a casual fan, you go to see the Valley Cats, and it's like it's high quality play, it's affordable, but it's really like an awesome experience, and it's good for all ages. So whether you're a parent with kids, or you're in your early 20s just looking for something to do with your friends, I have always had a good time at the Valley Cats Stadium.
Well, thank you. I don't know how to follow that up other than to borrow the recording for some of our marketing, but no, thank you. And that's really what we strive for, is to just be good, affordable, family-friendly entertainment. But to your point, something for everybody, whether it's a little kid who's going to watch 2 innings and then wants to run down to the fun zone and go on the bounce house, whether it's the kids that are right out of college and are looking for a night out where they can kind of stand around and talk to their friends, have something to eat, have something to drink. Large companies that are coming out and doing group outings, that's a huge piece of our business too, is selling those group tickets and having larger organizations come out as a block of seats and enjoy the night, and then hopefully they come back as individuals at that point as well.
And that concludes the first half of our interview with Matt Callahan from the Valley Cats. As noted earlier, part 2 of our chat with Matt will be available tomorrow, and we hope you'll keep listening. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button on whatever streaming service you're using right now to get notified about upcoming chapters. You can also visit TroyStoryPod.com to get signed up for email updates and check out our growing list of previous episodes. In part 2 of our conversation with Matt, we dive into Troy's deep connection to baseball history, including the early days of the National League in the post-Civil War era, and the countless all-star players who passed through the Capital Region in more recent years.
Rich history that started right here in Troy. You see the monuments and some of the plaques down at Knickerbocker Field. You hear about the people that went over to Heritage Park when the Albany Colony Yankees were here, and all the players that came through there, the Jeters, the Pettits, the Posadas, the legendary Ron Guidry game where they roped off the outfield and, everybody in the Capital Region was there. It's incredible.
This show remains a labor of love, and I remain grateful to each and every one of you who tunes in each month. With more than 2,000 downloads and climbing, I am excited about what's ahead. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for your continued support. Until next time, love yourself, love one another, and may Pod save Troy. Troy Story, a podcast for the Collar City, is hosted, written, edited, and produced by me, John Salka. Our theme music is by Stephen J. Goldman at Four Legs Records. Like what you heard? Please give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to Troy Story, a podcast for the Collar City. This is incredibly helpful for getting others to find our show. Want to know more? Visit TroyStoryPod.com to see upcoming episodes, guests, and bonus content. Thanks for listening. The views or opinions expressed by guests are their own and not of the host or Troy Story, a podcast for the Collar City.